Good evening, everyone. We are continuing our study where we left off in the book of Isaiah, and we left off at chapter 12. We continue today in chapter 13, and we will continue this study until chapter 39. Now, we took a break from the book of Isaiah because Isaiah is a very, very long book. Now, after the break, we continue, and I need to refresh our recollection because the period of Isaiah is to the time of Hezekiah. In the time of Hezekiah, we have seen the Assyrians come by, and they have taken away the northern kingdom. They tried to take the southern kingdom, but God defended Hezekiah and Jerusalem, where they were surrounded by the Syrians, and Isaiah was there with them. Now, when we start off with chapter 13, you would find that the prophecies regarding Assyria is back in chapter 10 and 11. We move on to chapter 13, where these are prophecies against the second nation, which would be Babylon. And so we begin today from chapter 13. The burden, and this word here often carries the meaning of prophecy. The prophecy against Babylon. This is regarding Babylon. And when it says against Babylon, this is what we call a harsh type of, I guess you can say harsh type of prophecy. We say harsh because it is directly against Babylon with the intent of destroying Babylon. And so we will read in the next couple of chapters. Today in chapter 13, we are told that this is with regards to Babylon, and the Hebrew name is Bavel or Babel or Babel. That's the American pronunciation. And this is a prophecy that was given by Isaiah, and he is the son of Amos, and he saw. Now, this is, again, we have covered this in a number of prophet books. This is Chadzah, right? Chadzah. And this word means to be able to have an ecstatic view or vision, which is not normal. It would be something that is akin to seeing something in a dream, but yet you are well awake. And so this is a very special word and usually used for prophets, how God communicates with prophets. And so this, although this is a simple English word saw, this is not our regular word of seeing. This is a very special word. And now the prophecy begins this way. It says, lift up a banner on the high mountain, raise your voice to them. Now, this idea of a high mountain is a place where you can fly a flag. You will never fly a flag in a place where nobody can see. So the intent here is to send a signal. And it's to send a signal to them. Now, who is them? These are the gates of the nobles. So wave your hand as a signal, lift up a banner, raise your voice. All of these are what we call, well, I guess you can say A, B, and C. They are all indicating to signal to attention. Now, remember, the way that I'm trying to describe here is that we can't go too detailed in our study here. But more importantly, I want to remind us that the style of the book of Isaiah is fully poetic. And being poetic, we do not read this like the book of Genesis, for example. We do read this very similar to the way we had studied the book of Zechariah. And so it's a poetic style, but with very literal messaging. I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for my anger, those who rejoice in my exaltation. Now, we begin by talking about who is this I. Now, this I is important because this I is God. And this is heard and seen in the vision. This is the vision. And as Isaiah hears and sees, he is writing down what God is saying. So it says here, I have commanded my holy ones, my special ones. And I want us to now remember we have Assyria, and the next kingdom would be Babylon, and the next kingdom will be Medo-Persia. And so for our purposes, these would be the sequence of nations that is being discussed. We have seen this in chapters 10 and 11. And now we are seeing this in chapters 13 and onwards. And it describes the next nation. And the next nation is called the Holy Ones, Medo-Persia. They are also called the Mighty Ones. They are there to process or to act as God's anger, to deal with Babylon. Now, at this point in time, Babylon hasn't conquered the nations yet, right? But in these next number of chapters, God, through Isaiah, is speaking against a series of nations. The noise of a multitude in the mountain, like that of many people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts musters the army for battle. Now in verse 4, we're talking about the kingdoms of the Goyim. This is the non-Israel nation. By the non-Israel nations, these are the Medo-Persians and the rest that will come to demonstrate the punishment of God. And they are described as multitude, a lot of people. If you can see all these words, right, gathered together, these words are what we call God's army to punish Babylon. If we are not clear on the sequence of nations, then we might be mistaken that God is talking about Israel, and it's not talking about Israel. It's talking about Babylon and the next nation or the next kingdom that will come, that God has specifically ordered to take care of the Babylonians. Now, we do read later on in the book of Isaiah that God has instructed a Mashiach, or so-called a Messiah, an anointed one, in the form of Cyrus. And he would be the king of Medo-Persia that will come and rescue the Jews. Now, they come from a far country, from the end of the skies. So it means that when you are in Israel and you look further up north, you get Babylon. And then you look further north, you get Medo or Media, and then you get Persia. And so this is what it means from a far country, further up north, in a land that is far, far north. The Lord and his weapons of indignation to destroy the whole land of Babylon. And so God will use from the northern countries to attack Babylon, who have come into Israel as well. Wail, for the day of the Lord is at hand. Now, this is a very interesting statement. The Lord of the day of Jehovah. Each time you see something like this, it is the day, right? It is the day of the Lord. It is a specific day. And this refers to God's judgment day. And this judgment day is on Babylon. Every time you see God's judgment day, it doesn't mean a specific day for the whole world. It is, in this case, in the context, is God's judgment day upon Babylon. It will come as destruction from Shaddai. This is how verse 6 would read from Shaddai. Now, remember, we have spoken about this Shaddai. The idea of Shaddai literally means who said enough. And God said enough in the creation because he is so powerful that he can do so much. And yet God in his wisdom said enough. That's what Shaddai means. And yes, it does carry the idea of Almighty. It is in his sheer power that he was creating that he has to say stop. It comes as a destruction of Babylon from God. Therefore, all hands will be limp. Every man's heart will melt. They will be afraid. Pangs and sorrows will take hold of them. They will be in pain as a woman in childbirth. They will be amazed at one another. Their faces will be flames. These are the Babylonians. That's what it's saying. All of them, right? Their faces. And so we are now reading a very poetic way of how God's prophecy is being presented, that he is saying so much, but in a nutshell, he is going to punish Babylon. Now, understand this, that Babylon was initially used by God to punish Judah. How is it that now God is going to punish Babylon? And we shall see. It says, behold, the day of Jehovah comes. Remember, this is that specific day. God will bring judgment upon Babylon. It will be cruel. It will be anger and fierce anger to lay the land desolate. And that will be the land of Babylon. He will destroy all the sinful from it. So in the eyes of God, Babylon has offended God. Then it says here, the stars of heaven and their constellations. Now this idea of the constellations, this would be Orion, will not give their light. The sun will be darkened in its going forth, and the moon will not cause its light to shine. This is a description of the severity of the calamity of God's destruction on Babylon. So it says, I, God, will punish. Now it says here, I, God, will punish uh, the, the world or the inhabitants for its evil. And this would be Ra or Ra'ah. Remember, it has to be seen from the eyes of the beholder. For God to say this is evil, then this will be from God's eyes. So God looks at the world of the Babylonian Empire. And God says he will visit them and the wicked for their iniquity. I will halt the arrogance of the proud, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Now, what is God saying here is that God will take Babylon from on top and bring it to the ground. That is what this is all about. Babylon is too arrogant. They have done much evil in the sight of God. They are thinking that they are so great and powerful. And so God says, I will do that. It says here, I will make a mortal more rare than fine gold. Now, this word mortal in verse 12 is mortal man. It says, I will make mortal man more valuable than gold. It tells us that taking Babylonians captive is more valuable. That is what it means. That the Babylonians as humans are more valuable than gold. And then in the second case, a man more valuable than the golden wedge of the land of gold, right? Of the land of gold. Therefore, I will shake the heavens, and the earth will move out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts and in the day of his fierce anger. Now, many a times we read this about heavens and earth. All of this always points back to Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The heavens and the earth are always referenced as the eternal witness of people's oaths. We see that reference in the book of Deuteronomy. And again, heavens and earth is a very normal term, though we don't use it as often. It is for a person when he looks up, he will see the skies. When he looks down, he will see the land. So heavens is the skies. Earth would be the land. And that will be a time where there will be great earthquakes. There will be great thunder in the skies because it depicts the wrath of Jehovah Tsevaot in the day of his fierce anger. This will be the day of Jehovah. Remember, we are still talking about God's judgment upon Babylon. Verse 14 describes Babylon shall be like a hunted gazelle running away, as a sheep that no man will want to protect. Every man will turn to his own people, and everyone will flee to his own land. Everyone is running away. Everyone who is found will be killed with the sword, and everyone who is captured will fall by the sword. Verse 16, and this is typical of all ancient warfare. The children will be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Very cruel. Their houses will be plundered as spoils, and their wives, I would say this word, ravished, is a very polite word, in a more colloquial, raped. And we see this even until today's warfare as well. Verse 17, look, I, God, will stir up the Medes against them. Why not Medes and Persia? Because we're talking about Medo-Persia. And it's likely that the Medes are the stronger, the fiercer of the partnership. And so the Medes are called up, who will not regard money, silver. And as for gold, they will not delight in it. What does that mean? They cannot be bought. Also, their bows will dash the young men to pieces. They have no pity on the fruit of the womb for the pregnant. Their eye will not spare the children. They are violent. They are cruel. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the greatest of all kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldean pride, will be when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And this will be in Genesis 19 and 20. That we should go back and read what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. That when God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, it was complete. The prophecy says that it will never be inhabited, which Babylon in its original form, the original Babylon, will not be inhabited again, nor will it be settled from generation to generation, nor will the Arabian pitch tents there. Now you need to understand, the Arabians are from the land of Arava. And in the English, we will spell it as Araba. The Araf, right? The ones that is from the desert people. They won't even bother because they move around. They are Bedouins, right? Nor will the shepherds make their sheepfolds there because there is nothing to eat. And so this idea of never being inhabited in the land of Babylon is that place is really going to be desolated. So Babylon, as the capital specifically, will not be inhabited. Verse 21, but wild beasts of the desert will be there. So what happens here is no man, even the strangers, won't use that place. Not even strangers. Instead, we have wild beasts that will do that. Their houses will be full of owls, ostriches will dwell there, wild goats will caper there, hyenas will howl, jackals will be there. And this is to show us the extent of the judgment of God upon Babylon. Now, our final two statements comes this way. Her time is near to come, and her days will not be prolonged. Now, these are words that is to, I would say, to comfort Judah. And it is to warn Babylon. Her time, Babylon's time, is near to come. This will be soon. Her days will not be endured. It would not be delayed, right? Not delayed. So at the end of the kingdom of Babylon is sure. So basically, it's to tell that whatever suffering under Babylon, there will be an end. That is the message of chapter 13 in Isaiah. Now, with this, we come to the end of our chapter today.